Welcome, London community, to Linux Gaming Week. All right, my second foray, and I know it looks like I'm on my Mac, but that's where my recording software is. So I swipe over. I use No Machine to do my remote desktop into Linux. I like it much better than um, oh God, for drawing a blank on the name of the Linux software. Anyway, so here we are in my Linux box, and I'm using Visual Studio Code. It may look a little like a Mac, but that's only because I installed a theme. I assure you, this is Linux. You may remember the game 24. You're given four numbers that you got to add, multiply, divide to create to get to the number 24. So I created this game. Ta-da! All right, let's see how I do. 6 and 4 is 24. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Um, hmm. 10, 20. So, let's see. Um, all right. Under the pressure recording, I can't think of it, but I could just do solve for me, and there, 8 plus 2 times 6 plus 4, and then submit. Yay, correct, well done. All right, so that's my game. But I know you guys know there's a twist because I am not a game developer of any sort. This is my very first game I've ever created. I'm also not much of a Python person. So, how in the world did I write this Python code? You know it's coming up. Yes, I went to ChatGPT. This thing is amazing. How can you not talk about it? It's so stinking amazing. That's right. So, I tell it, you're a game designer and you wish to create the game 24. Given four numbers, one must add, subtract, multiply, and divide to get the result of 24. You must use all the numbers and only once each. Do you understand the game? He says, yes, I do. Then I say, write a Python script to implement the game, and it does. Okay. And then it tells me that I could enhance the game. So I said, go ahead and make those enhancements. So then it writes those enhancements. And then just to be sure, because when I read through it, I didn't see any code to make sure that the four numbers could come up to 24. So I say, just curious, how are you ensuring that the four numbers presented can make 24? You're right. I didn't include a check to ensure the numbers. And so then it writes the code to make sure that the four numbers can indeed add up to 24. Um, I ask it how to install tk-enter because that's one of the libraries it uses. Again, I'm not familiar with Python, and it lets me know that you don't have to install it. It's part of the Python library kit. Um, then I ask it to regenerate the complete game. And it regenerates the whole game with the new improvements. And look at here, when I tried to run it, it had an error. And instead of me trying to debug the error, I just popped the error back in the chat GPT. Then it says, oh, we had incomplete code. So then it writes, by the way, I was having trouble. This was such a long output that it kept not finishing, right? And then, is it finished? And then it tries to write it again. Um, so I thought, well, maybe I could make it shorter by asking it to pre-generate all of the possible solutions. And so it wrote Python code that generated a text file that has all of the code. So, matter of fact, if I go back over here, we can see. Come on. Here is the list of all the valid, you know, four numbers with the operations in it. So now it can just pick one of those at random. Okay. So I picked one of there to validate. It didn't validate it. So it always apologizes and it rewrites the code. and then had a problem again, so I rewrote the code again. And so basically, I'm having this conversation with ChatGPT, having it write the software. When I would try to run it, if it had an error, instead of me debugging it, I would just copy the error message, pop it back in the ChatGPT, and back and forth we went. It did take a bit of time, but as I'm not a game developer, I assure you, I got to the result much faster than I would have done it all by myself. Um, and but I just kept asking it to, improve it. I had trouble. I was clicking the buttons and they weren't working. And then, I love the way it always says, "Oh, I apologize for the oversight. I missed adding." I mean, this is the thing. I, you know, uh, just feed it back, and it really understands. Or I know it doesn't really understand. It's not actually intelligent, but boy, does it really appear to be. So back and forth we went as I went through all the error message I was getting, and most of this came down to it wasn't actually generating the complete code; it was stopping. It took me a while to figure out that that's what was going on, and then I had an issue with the running of the game. It wasn't acting like I wanted it to, so I would just talk to ChatGPT and explain the problems I was having with the game, and it would write corrected code, and then every now and then I would ask to regenerate from the beginning based on all the conversation we'd had up to date. This time I figured out, so it wrote, this much, and I just said continue, and then it just picked up from where it left off and finished the code. Um, all right, let's see here. And then I explained about how the buttons should work, that it wasn't working, and then it would rewrite the code. And so that's kind of cool on how you're talking to ChatGPT about the software you want it to develop, right? It writes code, even to the point where you can just try to run the code, and when it doesn't work, you just copy the error message back into ChatGPT, and it will figure out what it did wrong. Um, I think this is amazing. I now have a fun game. I actually do like the game 24. So um, well, I cancel because it's still running. Anyway, that's it for Linux Gaming Week for me. I have done a text adventure with ChatGPT, and I just had ChatGPT write me a game to my specifications. So I'm having fun. I hope you are. Talk to you later.